Sports Card Podcast, where we tackle the hobby's hottest topics in depth to help you navigate the sports card landscape and enjoy the hobby we all love. Here's your host, John Newman.
All right, welcome to another edition of Hobby Quick Hits. You know, I've said before, many of these episodes really are born from someone else asking me to either explain something or to answer a question. And this one is going to fall under that category. Someone asked me recently, you know, if you did a shop today with all the bad stuff going on, burglaries, robberies, you know, how would it be different for you from when you did your store from 92 to 97? And it's a great question. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot more robberies. I'm going to get more into those details. It's like never before. Now, robberies and burglaries have been around since medieval times, but they just seem to be now an everyday occurrence in the card world, in the hobby world. And it's unfortunate, but, you know, I'm going to talk about some things, you know, that if you have an LCS now, that you maybe can do. Maybe you're doing some of these things we're going to talk about. Talk about some things I would do if I had a store today. But before we really go deep into this episode, let's hear from our great friends at Mojo Break, who sponsored the show. Hey folks, wanted to tell you about the best place to get some of your sealed sports card wax products. Great selection and some of the lowest prices on the web. MojoBreakShop.com is that place. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they're your guys, and they ship around the world right to your door. The Mojo Break name is one of the most trusted in the hobby. From sports cards to Pokemon, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders. Who won first place at this year's Topps Rip Party? None other than Mojo Break. Their prices are already great, but here's a way to save even more money. Use the code QUICKHITS, that's QUICKHITS, for 10% off anything on MojoBreakShop.com. They also have a full-service card shop in Santa Clara, California. So if you're in the area, stop by. They're open 7 days a week, so check them out at MojoBreakShop.com. Again, like I said, robberies and burglaries are nothing new to the hobby game. We've even in my store day, when I got out of my store, I sold out to my partner in the year 1997, and about 4 months after I sold out to him, that store that we were partners in, I was no longer a partner, but about 4 months after I left, it was broken into, and money was stolen, but no cards. And again, this is, you know, 1997. I think the hobby's in a little different spot now, but they stole money, they smashed glass, and that was his cue, my partner, whose name's Angelo. That was his cue to kind of do what I did and just kind of start doing shows and eBay and that sort of thing. And so that was, unfortunately, the end of the store for both of us. I got out 4 months prior, and then that happened, and he took that as a cue or sign that maybe that you know, time for him to just do online sales and eBay and that sort of thing. So we did. And I remember when that happened, obviously I had nothing to do with it, but I remember the local police calling me up and questioning me, you know, a couple questions over the phone, and then they wanted to stop by and ask me some more questions. I was happy to oblige, had nothing to hide, wasn't involved in it. But being a former partner, you know, there's always that angle. They wanted just to, you know, cross all their T's and dot their I's. I wasn't worried about it, knowing that I didn't do nothing. So answered any questions they asked. They didn't ask a ton. And they eventually actually caught the person who did it. And he actually said he just wanted the money, didn't take any cards. and I guess he was a drug addict and was using that money he was stealing was to keep his habit going. So, and times are no different. People rob and steal for all sorts of reasons, but sometimes that's really at the forefront. And, we've seen, every day now you read the hobby news, whatever site you'd like to get it from, and, we're seeing robberies being reported every day. Show alumnus, Jimmy Mahan with his Kentucky Roadshow card shop. He was recently robbed a couple weeks ago for the third time. We've seen an armed robbery a few weeks ago in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where a man came in brandishing a weapon, had the two people in the store go in the bathroom, locked them in that, and took cards and merchandise and cash, and was caught. But and there was bullets in the chamber of that weapon, and we're seeing multiple robberies. Canada had some card LCS robberies. My store here, not my store, but our only card store we have in the Syracuse area. It's called Southpaw Collectibles. Been there a long time. Matter of fact, the store's been around. When I had my store in the 90s, they were in existence then. Well, they were robbed 3 times in the last 5 months, every other month, by 3 people. They eventually caught the people by having a stakeout surveillance. They were going every other month. So they just had an officer in an unmarked vehicle sit, kind of hidden in a part of the lot, and they came back a third time. That store's been robbed 3 times in 5 months, and it's scary. So when that person asked me that question, and they said, I'm asking you this, what would you do differently, not card-wise, not how you buy products or set up the store, how would you do to protect yourself and what's in the store differently than what you did when you had a store in the 90s? And it's a great question. And it's current and it's topical, right? And made me think, what would I do? And I have toyed with the idea of maybe owning a store again. Probably not going to happen. I've said, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but I said it would only really happen probably if I opened a store in Cooperstown, New York. Kind of a high tourist baseball city. Obviously, Cooperstown with the Hall of Fame is a huge baseball city. Rent's not necessarily cheap, but it would be a great town to own a card store, and not too far from where I live, about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, depending on how fast I want to go. So not super far, and I've always kind of joked about maybe buying a storefront with a livable residence above it, and kind of, commute here and there, back and forth between the store, maybe get my son involved. More of a pipe dream and wishful thinking, but you can have fun thinking about that. And it made me think about it, if I did do that, what would I do to protect, the store and what's inside it, what's in those showcases, right? And it's a great question. So I'm going to answer it. But, let's tackle one question here. Why are we seeing these rash of burglaries more so than ever before? And the answer, I think the answer without me saying it here on the show. These are more of a liquid commodity asset. In other words, their cards is very close to cash as you can get. Wax is really untraceable. Wax boxes, wax packs. Raw cards are cards that are not graded and don't have a serial number and that sort of thing. Not all of them, but a majority of them may be untraceable, unless it's a super rare card that's obvious when it's reported stolen and someone tries to sell it right away. And yes, that does happen occasionally. We've seen robberies, burglaries, right, happen at the National. As a showcase is open, it's a very busy. Things are going on left and right. Then someone else sneaks something out of that case, right? Many times the perpetrator is caught, but there has been cards stolen at the last few National where they didn't catch the person. And not just the National, but other shows as well. We saw a person caught at Dallas, and you know, anywhere someone can steal something and make money, it's going to happen. I hate to say it, but that's the world we live in, and that's the way it is, and that's probably not going to change. And that again leads into this question: it's not people are going to steal something when they can make money or profit off of it. So how do we, as LCS owners, card owners, combat that? And I'm going to talk about some of those things. And I'm going to come at it just from the store aspect here, folks, not from at home with a safe or a safety deposit box. Let's just talk about, you know, an LCS owner. I'm going to put myself in this place. You know, the question was posed to me. You open a new store today. What would you do different security-wise than what you did in 97, the last year you had the store? And number one is, I mean, there's all sorts of, you got to remember, I'm a New York City kid. So I'm used to businesses and stores where those roll-down metal, basically garage doors can cover the front door, cover the windows, right? That's a real extreme option, right? But it is an option, right? You can also get steel bars put over your windows. They do have now shatterproof glass. Now that's not foolproof. It can still be really hammered out with a sledgehammer. It takes a lot more work. It's more time consuming and buys the authorities more time to get there before the perpetrator can get inside the LCS. But that helps. They have now coverings. I saw with their little research. They have some coverings you can add to the windows that have a similar effect and make the glass sort of unbreakable or shatterproof. And who knows what's next, right? You got your old standby security systems, right? That alarm trips, right? Notifies the authorities that something's amiss. We have camera systems, right? I have those in my house and outside my house. I make them obviously, for businesses too. And we've seen a lot of these robberies and burglaries. We've seen the still photo shots, right, of the perpetrator that sometimes used to apprehend those people. Someone recognizes them and does the right thing and turns them in, right? So we got cameras, different types of window coverings, great steel bars, right? Alarm systems, all sorts of things. But if I was doing a store now, and as much work as it would be and a pain in the you-know-what to do every day, I would get one of them. I saw a few of them at the National this year in Chicago. These big industrial safes. I mean, just these massive, heavy-duty safes. Very big, taller than about 6.5 feet tall, pretty deep, pretty thick steel walls. That some of these places, I don't know if they rented them. I don't know how they got there, but just massive safes. It was curious to see at the show. But honestly, I don't know what those things cost, but I think I would invest in one of those, and I'd have one of those in my store. And you say, well, what would you put in it? Number one, at the end of any business day, I'd put, a matter of fact, any unopened sealed wax, I'd probably put one on the shelf and any back stock in the safe already. And then what I would probably do at the end of every business day is put the rest of the, especially the high-end wax, right, in the safe. I'd also go through the showcases and pull any serious, very expensive or cards that I was concerned about and put them in the safe as well. Someone said, well, it's almost like doing a show every day. You got to come to the LCS, come to your work, open the safe, and then put everything back out again. Yeah, I'd love to argue with you, but that's what you'd have to do. But that stuff, unless you get some safe crackers or someone with some high-end explosives, right, which is most likely not going to happen in this case. I don't want to say never say never. But someone's probably going to break in the store, worst case scenario, which you hope doesn't ever happen, break in the store and only kind of take what they can smash and grab quick, right? These folks that are doing this want to be in and out of that store fast. They're not going to be going over to this big industrial safe and trying to safe crack it or blowing it up. Again, never say never, but they're looking to get in and get out. And so anything I put in this massive monster of a safe would probably most likely be fine, right? It's going to be tons of, weigh tons, so no one can throw it in the smash a truck through a door. I guess you could, but it'll be such a weight. You're not going to be able to put it in the back of a truck and drive away. And so anything you can put in the safe at the EOB and the business is going to be most likely, steel proof, if you will, especially after closing. Now, if someone comes in during store hours, operating hours, brandishing a weapon, and says, "Hey, give me this, give me that, give me the money, open the safe," your life is not worth any of the cards or wax you have, so that's where that safe wouldn't come into play. But I'm talking about after hours, right? Definitely have insurance. And when we think about insurance, we're just thinking about the cards or the merchandise we have. But insurance, too, on everything in the store. When those windows get broken in or smashed and cracked and busted out, glass is not cheap, right? And so, insurance will cover some of that, depending on your deductible, but as well as the cards and wax. And shop around for insurance and read the fine print, too, and make sure it covers what you need it to cover. Someone said, well, why not, John, instead of locking it in the safe every end of business day, just to reset it out the next day, it's still there and you're not there, why not get a case and bring it home every night and bring it back to work every night? That is a terrible idea. I've heard people say that, a couple people. It's a terrible idea because people, a lot of times these robberies happen. These people are not dumb people all the time, and they'll scope out a place or see how business goes, right? And you're leaving every day with a briefcase full of very expensive cards that you're taking to and fro your LCS. Someone might scope that out and just say, man, what an easy mark. When John leaves the store, I know that briefcase is going to be filled with all those 4 or 5 figure cards. I just got to get that case from him, right? Whether it's, you get killed or, knocked down or just gun to aimed at you and, hey, give me the case. I won't hurt you. That's just an easy, and you got all those nice cards in one carrying case for that thief. And so, to me, that's definitely not an option. And then, if you're bringing them home, now your place of residence can become a target too. And that's a whole other show. We're not even going to go there on this particular episode of Hobby Quick Hits. So, those are some things I would do. I would definitely get one of them industrial safes. And yes, it would be some work every end of night or early in the morning when I first open. But I'm going to lock stuff up in that thing every day. Some of those other options to protect your doors and windows, right? I've seen some of these stores now opt in for these like steel doors. How crazy is that? We almost got to make it like our store is like a a Brinks truck, right? And, with bulletproof glass and shatterproof glass and tinted glass and films and coatings. That's the new thing too. Some of these films and coatings that you can add on to your existing glass to make them a little bit more impenetrable. And it's just crazy. We're talking about that, but that's where we are now. Cards are a commodity. The cards are almost the same as money, if not even better. That's just things I think about. If I was ever to do a store again, what would I do? And I talked about it, depending on what city you're in, those kind of garage metal rolling doors that kind of come down and block everything off, have a lock, and those are not foolproof either, but they do work. It doesn't look great, right? But who cares about the optics? You're closed. I'd worry about the optics when you're open, right? You unlock these rolling kind of metal pull down things, and you unlock it, and you roll them up, and you're open for business. So it's about protecting what you've worked hard to do, and that's the one thing I want to kind of do in closing here. Someone say, well, man, these stores are making hand over fist. They'll be fine. And maybe they will be fine. Maybe they have insurance. Maybe the loss isn't complete, right? But again, you have deductibles. But these are folks that worked hard to build their brand, their business, and criminals are busting in and stealing it. It's as simple as that. And no one deserves that. I don't care how much money someone's making or not making in the industry. It doesn't justify your hard work being taken advantage of, and that's what these are. And we're in different times in the hobby with this stuff. Where it's not that it's never happened before, but it's just happening at different levels we've never seen before. And I think we're going to see a lot of innovations in the next few years, even with showcases that you see on the show. Many of them do lock. The ones I use lock. Sometimes I keep them locked. Sometimes I leave them unlocked. It depends. Just kind of whatever mood I'm in, as simple as that. But I think we're going to see new, even technologies at shows to prevent some of this going on. I saw a few setups at the National where they had cameras on their tables, like video cameras, just recording just all the business going down. That way, if something turned up missing or something was off, they can review the footage. That was really head scratching to me. Not that I'm super surprised, but just that's where we're at. That we're videoing our days at the show. And I'm not talking about the vlogs walking around the shows. These are cameras either behind, set up on a stand to just keep track of everything, or even from a side angle. And that's where we're at. It's sort of sad, but it's sort of where par for the course. And so those are just some things I would do if I ever opened a store again. And I don't think it's a certain area. We're seeing these burglaries occur in big cities, Las Vegas, and we're seeing them in smaller towns. Altoona here in Syracuse, it actually, the store I'm talking about that got robbed here 3 times, Southpaw, is in a city called Cicero, New York, which is about 15 minutes from where I'm recording this right now, and it's north of Syracuse. It's a small little town, bustling town, heavy traffic area, but it's a small town. And so it doesn't matter where you are. Probably the more desolate area, quieter area you're in, you're probably a bigger target. Less car traffic, vehicle traffic, to notice anything sort of out of the norm, and maybe recognize a car or a person or activity. So I don't think you're safe. I don't think it matters where you live anymore, where your store is anymore. I think cards are viewed at an asset class. These criminals are seeing on mainstream media, these cards that are going for millions at auction. You got to remember, many, not everybody, but a lot of the people committing these crimes don't know cards like maybe me or you do. They just see news reports that these things are selling for millions of dollars, and they think everything is possibly worth that, right? And again, some of these crimes are committed by people who know what they're looking for and go in there with an intent and a purpose and that too. I don't, it's two sides to that coin. But in some of these cases, people, that are committing these crimes are just, they know that these cards are very valuable based on news reports and what they're seeing, on the airwaves. And it's sad. So if you have a store, I feel for you. Protect yourself as much as possible so we don't have to keep hearing these stories. It is not your fault as well. I mean, these are people who are committing criminal activities. That's where the blame lies. I heard someone else on social media say, well, if your store gets robbed, it's your fault. You didn't have the proper things in place. And that's a cop-out answer, and it's baloney, quite frankly. There's another word I wanted to say, but I want to keep it clean for the kids. But it's baloney. People were breaking in, coming in that is just criminal activity, plain and simple, cut and dry. That's where the blame is. The store owner, I don't care if the store owner leaves his door unlocked or forgets to lock it at the end of the day. If someone comes in there when they know they're not supposed to be there and then takes something that ain't theirs and doesn't belong to them, I mean, it's cut and dry. It's not the store owner. I'm tired of hearing the two things I hear sometimes with these stories. Not a lot. Most people have common sense, but the two things I have seen on social media, well, these guys are making millions of dollars. They can absorb that, or it comes with the territory. And then the other one, well, it's their fault for not having the proper things in place to prevent that from happening. Now, baloney. Be smarter than that if you're one of those folks that are saying stuff like that. So, bad criminals do bad things. These are criminals doing bad things, and that's where the buck stops. And I don't want to hear that stuff. So I hope, if you have store owner, again in closing, I hope this doesn't happen to you. I hope maybe you get an idea from a suggestion I talked about on this program. And I hope people do the right thing and don't do this stuff. But that's more wishful thinking than anything else. So LCSs and everyone else, be safe, be good, and we'll see you next week on Hobby Quick Hits. All right, thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/SportsCardNationPodcast/ Twitter, we are at SportsCardNati1, so it's SportsCard NATI1. Instagram at SportsCardNationPodcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.